So, hello everyone. This was about creating tables and inserting data into the tables. Okay, similarly, we altered table, we created entity relationship diagram. Also, we dropped few constraint, few columns. Okay, again, we modified the column, added column, modified column. Okay, so we did with the DDL and DML commands. Okay, now I try to show one scenario to you. We have a table called TBL employee. Okay. When we go with this, we have these columns. So if you go with the department, even if you don't insert department, in that case, it is going to accept data. Row can be accepted. But okay, there can be, yeah. So why we take null in the case of department? If an employee joins in recent times, so far if the department is not allocated, that is going to be empty. Okay. But over the period of time, what happens? The employee may be added to a particular department. Later on, what happens? The employee may be moved from one department to another department. Okay, for example, an ex-employee you have within the same organization, initially no department was allocated to the X because that person was under training. So after some time, some department is allocated to him. Say some D1 is allocated to him, department 1 is allocated to him. So after some 6 months or 7 months in some other department, his service are required. So therefore, what happens? The employee will be moved into another department. Okay. But over a period of time, the employee was moving from one department to another department. So in such cases, if you need a history of the employee in each department for how much time the employee worked, we need to find. So in such case, there is no provision in this case. What we do, whenever department is changing, in such cases, we are going to change here using update command. Okay, right now, the employee may be with accounts. After 6 months, that person is changing into administration. So in such case, what we do simply, we are going to update this department. We know where we have the history. So whatever last updated, we have only that information. Okay. So then how to maintain the history? That means initially how long the employee was under training. Okay. And how long the employee was in a particular D1 department, how long the employee was in the D2 department, like that we need to find information. Okay, so how can we track such things? Whenever an employee is added, automatically data must be getting entered in some other table called as employee history. Similarly, when employee department is changing, even in such cases, it must be getting added to the history table. So that means what? How many times the employee changing departments, that many rows are going to be inserted. So like that, we can maintain the history of the employee departments. Okay, so right now, what is happening? No department is allocated. In such case, what? That person is under training. Then after some time, we may allocate a department. In such cases, what happens? That particular person will be in the department. Okay. Similarly, what happens? After some time, again, the employee may be moved into some other department. So in such case, what happened? Third time also, data is getting updated for us. First time insertion. Subsequently, we have 2 updations. So all this data, we have to put in the, one table called history that we can call as audit table. Okay, you can call it as audit table. So similarly, we have employee table. So all employees cannot be managers. Okay, all employees cannot be managers. So some employees may be working under a manager. We take only two levels in this. One is the manager level, other one is employee level. Now I would like to add one more column called as here. So manager ID I want to put. Okay, I'm going to put here one more column called as manager ID. Then manager ID is going to be referring the employee ID within the same table. Just like in the TBL category, we have a super cat ID. Super cat ID was referring actually the cat ID. So in the same manner, what I can do is I can add here one more column called manager ID. So that manager ID can be referring the employee ID. In the same table, now we have the primary key, foreign key relationship. Okay, so what I do here now, I'm going to modify. In this case, the table I'm going to modify. For that purpose, I need to use here alter command. Alter table followed by what is the table name? This is TBL employee. Okay, TBL employee. Now in this case, I must be adding a new column. What is that column? Column name is here manager ID. Okay, something like this manager ID I can put. Followed by this is also integer. I can put in this manner. So what I am doing in this case, I am going to add here one more column. Okay, if you look at the employees table, you have employees and you have managers. Okay, all employees cannot be managers, only few can be managers. So whenever the employee is a manager, for that particular row, manager ID is going to be null. Okay, so if the employee is not manager, in such cases, under manager ID, you will add some employee ID. How you do in the TBL category, in the same manner, we are going to do it. So alter table, TBL employee, add manager ID, INT. Now I'm going to add here one more column called manager ID to the existing table. So that is exactly TBL employee. What happened now? Another column has been added. This can accept a null value. Okay, this can be a null value for me here. Manager ID, we have null in this case. But this is not enough actually. You need to have in this case, a foreign key relationship in the same table. Okay, so what I do in such cases, once again, I can go here with alter table. What is the name of the table here? TBL employee. Then here I write like add constraint. What is the name of the constraint here? I can take it as FK manager ID. I can put like this, followed by here, I need to specify this as foreign key. Okay, and in this, what column name I can put? So remember that MySQL is actually not case sensitive. It does not differentiate between uppercase or lowercase. Okay, so here FK manager ID is the name of the constraint. Foreign key in this case is going to be here first manager ID. So in the bottom, what column is added for extra? Sorry, what column is added for us when you manager go with the DSC employee? So manager ID we have, so that we need to put here. So we go here in this case, then try to add here manager ID. So this is going to be the column in this table. It is a foreign key. It has to refer a table, a column in the table. Okay, so which is going to be a primary key here. So when you go with the employee table, we have a primary key here. Where is the primary key? Employee ID is going to be a primary key. Automatically, this is getting entered for us. So therefore, now we need to write this as references. So what is the name of the table we are going to refer? It is same table, TBL employee. Followed by here, you can go and you can give the column name in that. What is the column name? That is employee ID. Okay, this is going to be employee ID. Like this, I'm trying to add a new constraint to the table. Already there are few constraints we have. What are the constraints we have? A primary key constraint we have. Similarly, two unique constraints we have in this. Also, we have here a check constraint. We added yesterday a check constraint. With the help of that, we are controlling DOB and DOJ. If you recall, we have a check constraint in that. And we have added a default constraint also for the country. By default, what it takes, it is going to take it as India. Okay. And similarly, whenever an employee is changing, it need not be only department. The address of the employee may change. Address of the employee may change, contact number may change, email ID may change. Okay. So there is no meaning in changing email ID. Okay, but address may change, location may change, city may change. So state also may change. Okay. So here pin code also is going to change in such cases. Country may not change. We assume like that in this case. Country will not change. Okay. So therefore, in such cases, we need to manage all the things. Also, what happens? Manager ID also can change. Is it possible to change manager ID? Right now, we are working with one manager. But tomorrow, can you work with some another manager? Is it possible? If you think like, about it, is it possible like that? It is possible very much. Okay. Today, we may be working under one manager. Due to some reason, the manager may be getting retired or the manager may be moving into another department. In such case, what happens? New manager will come into the scenario. So therefore, the manager also may change, the possibility you have. So whenever they are changing, in such case, what should happen? A new row must be getting added always in the history table. So we have to create a employee history table in such cases. Okay. So, but whenever you insert or whenever you modify something, automatically the data must be getting entered into that. That you can do with the help of the triggers. There is a concept called trigger. A trigger is nothing but a program, a stored program. So using that, what happens whenever there is any new data getting added to the table, similarly, whenever some table data is getting modified, in such case, what happens? A new row will be getting added with the new values in the TBL employee history table. Okay, so this concept is called as here triggering. So whenever a row is added in the, or whenever a row is existing row is updated, in such case, automatically an entry is made in the new table. So the table is in that case going to be TBL employee history that we haven't created. Okay, what we added in this case, we have added a manager ID. Okay, now go like this and try to modify this. This has been modified, and if you see here, you can find a relationship in this case. So if you come here, what happens? You have a MUL here in this case. Okay, so you have here MUL. That means what in this case? This is a foreign key. It is actually referring the table in that same table employee ID. So this way what you do, you can allocate, you can be assigning a manager to the employee if that person is actually not a manager. So if the person is a manager, in such case, this is going to be a null value. Okay, this is going to be null value. This particular column can be null value. So we are assuming here there are only two levels. One is a manager and other one is an employee. Okay, so you may be having a chain hierarchy. That means suppose X is a manager, Y is actually his subordinate. Okay. Similarly, X may be subordinate to somebody else. That can be Z. Similarly, Z may be subordinate to some K. So like that, you can be having multiple hierarchies in such cases. So now with this, what we do, we are going to maintain employee information, and we added here in this case one extra column called as manager ID, and that is going to be here in this case a foreign key. It is linking in the same table. What column table is linked with the manager ID? It is employee ID. Okay, it is going to be employee ID. Like that, we are maintaining it. Okay, so now here I need to create one more table. So what is the table? It is called as here employee history. So it can be employee history. So this is going to be an employee history table. So this has to be created. A new table has to be created for us. Okay. So for that purpose,
What is the full form of MUL?
What it is?
What is the full form of MUL? After
MUL
creating.
basically multiple something like that actually it is.
Okay.
So it is something like one to many.
Okay.
Okay. Now I want to create here a new table. Okay. So, but typing again, all the columns can be very much time consuming process and the names also may mismatch. So therefore what I do, I can create a table from existing table using select query. Okay, it is going to be, I'm going to create a new table from the existing table with a select query here. Okay, I'm going to be selecting with a, which one? In this case, I'm going to create a table from the existing table. Okay, using actually select query. So what columns basically we require now in this? So what columns basically we require? We don't require if it is actually TBL employees. So we go with the TBL employee. In such cases, we don't require here employee ID. We don't take it. Okay, employee ID is required. We can take it. Employee ID we can take actually. So we take employee ID. We take first name, last name will not change. DWA we will not change. DOJ will not change. But department can change. Contact number can change. Email ID can change. Address can change. Location can change. City can change. State can change. PIN code can change. Similarly, manager ID can change. There is no meaning in changing actually first name or last name. We cannot change it. For the employee, first name and last name will not change, DOB will not change, and DOJ also will not change. Therefore, before you create any table, you need to think logically about it. Okay, so how far your logic is valid, you need to think, then you need to go ahead. Sometimes what happens, you may be having an interaction with the client. Client may be asking you to create a table without knowing all these things, without thinking much about the database requirements in the future. Customer does insist or client does insist on creating table with certain columns. Okay, so in such case, you have to advise the client to choose appropriate columns. Okay, so what columns are relevant? You can actually, you can discuss with the client and properly you can create the required table. So when somebody is asking you to create a table, just blindly don't create table. You think about it. Okay, so what values you can have in that, what are not required, what can be modified, what will not be modified, what are not going to be modified. You need to think about it accordingly. You have to create it. Okay, now in this case, what I do, I'm going to create a table, new table from the existing table. Okay, I'm going to create a new table from the existing table in this manner here. The syntax for that is going to be here create table, followed by here what I require, TBL, EMP, history. Okay, TBL, EMP history, then followed by I go with the as here. Then what I do here, I can go with the select command. So it's going to be select command. Okay, so in this select command, what I do here, I need to create the column names, employee ID. Similarly, I don't take first name, don't take last name, DOB is not required, DOJ is not required, but we require here department. Okay. Similarly, contact number. Probably this can change. Contact number can change. Similarly, email ID, we assume that we don't change. We go with the address. Then we go with the location. Then we go here with the city. And next thing is here state. Then it is PIN code. Okay, one more thing is country, we don't change. One more is what here, manager ID. Okay. So what we do in such case now, from what is the table name? We are going to choose the table name is in this case. So here we write from. What is the table name? This is TBL employee we take. Okay. So we take like here TBL employee. Fine. Now we try to select and execute this. What will happen in such cases?
In manager ID R is missing.
Okay, manager ID we take here. Then we try to create now the required table here. Okay, but with this there can be some problem. Okay, once I create the table, I can tell you what the problem can be. Now what happened? A new table has been created for us. So just refresh and see here. There is one more table called TBL EMP history. Okay, but we don't require that actually. Here, if you go with the select star from TBL EMP history. Okay, so in such cases, we should not have any data. A skeleton table must be created for us. But you find here one row. So this row is not required in this case. We don't need this row. When you insert a row, in that case, it should come. Similarly, whenever you update, okay, so in such case, it has to come in this. Okay, so whenever you insert or whenever you update, in such cases, what should happen? It should be added to the TBL employee history. But what happened in this case? Automatically, it's copying a row into the newly created table. And one more thing, automatically, it will not create any primary key or anything. So just see here, DESC, then followed by in such cases here, we go with the TBL EMP history. Okay, so DSC TBL EMP history we take. What are the description we have in this case? There are basically, okay, there is nothing like key in this case. There are no keys added in this case. Okay, so it is plain, no constraints are applied in this case. Seeing here, when you copy like that, no constraints will be getting applied automatically. So we need to add constraint in this case. Okay, so this table is containing now, in this case, the employee ID, department, contact number, address, location, city, state, PIN code, manager ID. So from this, which column we can take as primary key? One of the columns must be primary key. To identify the row in a row, I mean a particular row in the given table, you require primary key. So which column you can make as primary key in this case? Can we take employee ID as primary key?
Yes.
If you take employee ID as primary key, multiple times employee ID cannot be entered. First time when you add, at that time you add employee ID. Suppose the same employee ID is getting actually, updated in the TBL employee. So in such case, you cannot add one more row with the same employee ID. So you cannot take employee ID as primary key in such cases, not even like unique. And there is one more drawback in this is, so we are adding whenever a new employee is getting added or whenever existing employee is getting updated, we assume that here data is getting entered. For that, we need to write a trigger with that it's possible. So right now, automatically, that will not be getting that will not be happening automatically. So we need to create a trigger with that it can happen. Okay, but here on what date exactly the changes are made, a new record is added, there is no information, you cannot track. What are the columns we have in this case? We have employee ID, department, contact number, address, location, city, state, PIN code, and one more thing is what here? Manager ID. But on what date exactly all this is happening? Do you have any information in that? We don't have any information. So therefore, in such cases, this becomes again not much meaningful. Correct? On what day the employee is added, you don't have that information since there is no, we are not capturing any date. Similarly, on what date it's getting modified also, we are not actually capturing that. So therefore, now you may have data, but on what date it's happening, you cannot track that. So therefore, what we need to do, we need to add a new column called. So what column we can add? Date of transaction or something you can add. We need to add here one more column and we need to add here a primary key. Okay, a primary key also we have to add in such cases. We need to add a primary key in such cases. Okay, so now let us add here a new column. How to add a new column? We go with the alter table. Okay, then next thing is what here? You need to add here. Table name is what here? TBL, EMP, history. The next thing is here what? Add followed by DOT I put. What is the meaning of DOT? Date of transaction or date of entry. DOE you can take. Okay, so date of entry also you can write here. Then in this case now what you do? Add DOE. What type of date type? What type of data it is? Date as well as time you can take. So date time, but again you are not going to enter that automatically. It should be happening. So right here default. What value we can take for default? In such case it is current timestamp. So this default value you can take in such cases. So here you are going to add a new column called DOE. What type of data it is going to have? It is going to have date time. Okay, type of data is going to be date time. What is the default value? Current timestamp. That means on whatever date you are adding, automatically the date and time will be getting entered for us. Okay, we add here a new column called date of entry. With that, what is happening here? Whenever you add a new row to the employee table, or whenever you modify a row from the employee table, in such case, what a new row will be getting inserted into the TBL employee history, and this DOE automatically will be getting entered with this particular default value there. It is nothing but current timestamp. So it can give some default value for that. That means current timestamp meaning is what? Right now, whatever the time, date and time is, it's going to enter that. Okay, now let me select and execute this here. What will happen? See. What happened here? The table has been successfully altered. Table is successfully altered. Now it's going to have here the current timestamp as the default value there. But one more problem still we have in this case. There is no primary key in this. Every row must be getting identified in a unique way using a primary key. So there is no primary key in this case. Then how to add a primary key? Again, you need to go with the alter table command. Okay, you can go with the alter table command. With the help of that, you can do it. So here, go with the alter table command. Then in this, you write it as TBL EMP history. So this is EMP history. You need to now add here constraint. What is the name of the constraint we put here? So it is going to be PK. Then we write here EMP HIST, just I put here HIST ID. Okay, EMP HIST ID. Then what exactly this is? It is a primary key. We put like this. Then what column we can take in this case? There is no column right now available. Simply you cannot add any primary key. So you need to add first of all that particular column in that. Okay, so let us add in this case first of all a new column, alter table. This is what here, alter table, TBL, it is EMP history. Okay, TBL EMP history. Then here add followed by HIST ID. I can put like here HIST ID. I put like this here. Then this is going to be INT type of data. It is integer type of data. Then one more thing, what we put here, auto increment. We write it like this. So this is going to be here auto increment key. We write this as actually here auto increment key. Now the table is going to be getting here adding. It is giving some error for us. Okay, add history ID, INT. Then it is saying as auto increment. So what it says? Okay, do we have any other auto increment in this? Let us see. We go with this here. Where is auto increment in this case? So do we have anywhere auto increment in this case? There is no auto increment in this case. Then how it says like this here? We come to once again this employee history we have taken.
I think for the employee ID, we have given the auto increment. Could you please check it out once?
We haven't given, if you go with the DSC employee history. So in this case, where is the auto increment? You don't have any auto increment in this case. So for what exactly we gave auto increment? For nothing we have given any auto increment in this case. Okay, so there is no auto increment in such cases. For employee ID, you cannot definitely give primary key. Okay, you cannot give any primary key for the employee ID. Okay, so if we try to add here, what it says in this case is you can add only fine.
In previous
Probably,
table, employee, we gave auto increment, right?
yes,
For
in the employee table we
ID.
gave, but that table is different, this table is different.
But from that table only, we created this one, right? Using self.
Yes, from that we
That
created,
concern.
correct. But it is copying just only column names and type of data.
Okay.
Okay, so the key will not come automatically in such cases. So when I go like this, actually, it's giving error for me here in this case. So when I go with the INT auto increment, so it is basically giving a problem for me here. Alter table, TBL EMP history, add history ID, then INT. I'm writing it as here auto increment. So this should not basically give error. Incorrect table definition it says here. Okay. So INT I have taken. We kept it as here auto increment. This should work, but why it is not working? Still it is saying same error. 1075 error this is. Copy this particular row and try to see in the notepad exactly what is this. So paste it here. Okay, so this must be declared as the primary key. They are saying in this case, so put it as here primary key now. So we want to make this as here primary key. Then here execute this time. So now it is working. Since we haven't made it as primary key, it was not actually working for us. Okay, auto increment must be always primary key. So here I was not giving primary key. So therefore, what is happening in this case, it was unable to create, but right now it is created. So by default, it's going to take a value 1. Since it is history, it can be anything. It can be 1, 2, 3, whatever is coming, that's fine in that case. Now we don't require then in that case, adding it as a primary key. Already this has been added for us. Okay, so now the table has been modified as per our requirement. So next, once again, see here, DSC, TBL, EMP, history. Okay, so in such cases, you can see the structure of the table. Okay, structure of the table. At the bottom, it is giving hist ID. Now this is nothing but here a primary key. Auto, also it is auto increment. So also this is exactly what, it's nothing but here an auto increment. Also, it is going to be here auto increment. So this way, here we have created 2 more columns in this. One is what? DOE. DOE meaning is what here? Date of entry. And another one is what here? History ID. Okay. Now suppose you insert a new row into the employee table. Automatically it will not come into TBL EMP history. Let us insert and see anything will happen or not here. Okay, so I try to enter something in this case here in this manner. So I go here with some Suraj, followed by I give something like here V, then followed by here this is some 19. I want to put this as here 70. Okay, so like this I try to insert some data. this should be getting entered for us. Data must be getting inserted into what table? TBL employee. So just execute, it got inserted. Fine, if you go to here in this case, select TBL, EMP, TBL employee. So in such case, what happens? Select star I take. All the columns I am going to select. TBL employee. In such cases, now it's going to show 2 rows for us. I require here a from clause. Without from clause, it gives error. I give here from, then select star from TBL employee. In such case, it's going to pick all the rows from the table. So how many we have total? There are 2 rows in this case. The first one is 1000. Second one is how much here? 1001. So into this table, this is getting added. This is fine. But if you go with the employee history, it will not be added. So here see, select, then star from which table I take here. It is TBL, EMP, history. So no rows are going to be added in such cases now. There are not going to be any rows you are going to have in this. Oh, this is getting, oh, this is, okay. Fine. As I told you, whenever earlier when we are copying, this was copying even the data for us. Okay, I was creating a table from the existing table. Okay, in such case, what happens? It's going to copy even the data. Data is also going to be getting copied automatically. There was 1 row at that time, even that 1 row is also getting copied. Suppose if you don't want to take any data, in such case, what you can do is you can go with a where clause, then where 1 equal to 2, you can write. So if you write 1 equal to 2, it will not select any rows. Only the table structure can be getting created for us in that case. Because 1 can never be equal to 2. Correct? 1 cannot be equal to 2. So using the where clause, we are going to select data whenever 1 is 2. So 1 cannot be equal to 2. Therefore, what happens? In such cases, it is not going to pick any data. It's going to select only the structure of the table. You can create structure in that manner. But now what is happening here? Here in this case, we have employee ID. Okay. And when you go to this side, history ID also you have 1. Automatically it's adding 1. But now here I remove the data from the employee history. How can I delete that? Delete from, I can write here followed by the table name I have to give. TBL, EMP, history. So with that, what happens here? You are going to delete data from the given table. All the data, whatever is available, we are going to delete from that. Now, if you go with the select star from TBL, EMP history, you cannot find any data in that. Now it is actually empty. Okay, the table is empty, but even though you added here a row to the TBL employee, that row is not getting added to this because there is no provision to add like that. That means we haven't added any trigger in that case. So when you add a trigger in such cases, so whenever you add a row or whenever you update a row in the TBL employee, automatically a new row will be getting added in the table TBL EMP history. So for that, we have to write a trigger. A trigger is nothing but a special program. Okay, program which is going to be getting saved in the database. Okay, so upon insertion of a row or updation of a row, what happens here? It is going to be inserting some data into TBL EMP history. So user is not going to intervene in that case. Whenever some row is added or row is updated, in such cases, automatically data must be getting entered into the EMP history. So for that, now we need to write the trigger. So triggers are actions which are going to be getting executed automatically whenever some data is getting changed in the database table. That means either updation or when new row is getting added. In such cases, you can do it. Even in the case of delete also, we can do such things. But here what I do, these are called as DML triggers, data manipulation language triggers. So whenever I add a row and whenever I delete, whenever I update some data, in that case, it must be coming in the TBL EMP history. Okay. So for that purpose, we need to write a trigger. So trigger, as I told, it's a stored procedure. It's a special kind of stored procedure. Procedure meaning is what exactly? It is some piece of code. Okay. In the Python, how you write code. In the C#, how you write code. In the Java, how you write code. In the same manner, we write some piece of code. So that is going to be getting saved within the database. You can write two different types of, code blocks. One is called as procedure. Other one is called as a function. A procedure cannot be part of the select statement, whereas a function can be part of the select statement. Even yesterday we have seen a function that is what date add, something we have used. With the help of that, we actually use, we have written that in the check constraint. So with the help of that, when there is not a difference of 21 years between the DOB and DOJ, it is rejecting data in such cases. Okay, data was getting rejected in such cases. So now let us try to write here a trigger called as DML trigger. After data is getting inserted or data is getting updated in the given table. So this is going to be getting, this has to be getting fired. So for that purpose, we write here a trigger. So we are going to write here a trigger. So how to write the trigger? See here. Okay, so we have to go with some syntax. Basically, to create a trigger, you have to use in this manner. Create, again, this is a DDL command. Create followed by trigger, then followed by here. After I put here, after insert or after update or after, like that we need to do. So what I do in this case, after row, after new employee, add. Okay, so this is the name of the trigger. Then what you do here, again, this is going to be after keyword, after insert. Okay, on, what you can write here, insert on, what you write here, this is TBL employee. In this manner, we can be writing code. So followed by here, you write in this manner for each row, it is some syntax. For each row, then you are going to write it, insert into which table that is now? TBL EMP history. Okay, so it is going to be TBL EMP history. So into that table, whatever columns you want to insert, you can actually insert that. So we can be now inserting into those columns, whatever columns we require. So those columns we need to insert here. In this case, from the new, there are going to be automatically two rows are available. One row is old, other one is actually new. New means what? Current row. Old, in the case of updation, you have old and new. In the case of insertion, you have only new. New meaning is what? Current row, that is, which is inserted. Old meaning is what? In the case of old, when you update that, earlier you had a row, you are going to change that with a new row. You have two rows. One is called as old row, other one is called as new row. These can be even called as tables. Okay, a old table and new table, they are keywords actually. They are available automatically within the MySQL script. Okay, so in the MySQL triggers, automatically they are available for us. New meaning is what? A new row when you add. That row values you can take here. Similarly, whenever you modify something, that is called as old. Old values you are going to change with the new one. So in that way, you need to insert into the, which table that is TBL, not TBL employee, into the TBL EMP history, you need to insert that. So now let us try to create here a trigger. So syntax I'm showing in this case, but let us try to write here trigger in the proper manner. Just 1 minute. Okay. Now let us write here a new trigger. To write a new trigger, we need to follow certain syntax here. So leave this part here, then come to this part. Then here, first of all, I write like this, delimiter. This is going to be here, something like $. By default, in the SQL, in the MySQL, what is the delimiter? This semicolon is going to be a delimiter. Okay. But whenever you write a trigger, you may have multiple statements. In such case, what will happen if you use semicolon? As soon as it encounters a semicolon, the code can be getting executed. Okay, that's why what we do, we are going to set a new delimiter called $, then followed by, here in this case, we go with the create trigger function now. So we write here, create trigger. Same thing we take in this case. We are going to take same thing in this case here. And what columns we require, that we have to take. Okay, TBL, EMP history we take here, then followed by whatever columns we require, those columns now we have to take in this case. Okay, so in this manner we write it. After insertion, what should happen here? You need to go with the end, followed by here $. Then after that again you need to set it to delimiter. What you write here, you write delimiter again, it is going to be semicolon. So this way we are going to be writing it. Delimiter, this is DLIMITER. This is going to be delimiter. In this manner we set. But here we need to complete the code. So what columns we have to add in this case now? The columns are going to be, just 1 minute. Hello. దివాకర్ గారు ఎవరండి? బాగున్నారా? అదే అదే మేము వచ్చే వరకు ఇప్పుడు ఎంత ఒక 1 అవర్ అయింది బావ. అక్క ఇక్కడ రాలే, అక్కడ ఉంది కదా. నేను కొంచెం ఏమైనా కాల్ చేస్తాను మీకు. So this is here TBL EMP history. Now in this case, I need to use here the syntax in this manner. So insert into TBL EMP history. What columns I need to put here? Employee ID I should put here, first thing. The next thing is here, first name, last name we don't require, DOB we don't require, DOJ we don't require. You can take here department like this. Similarly, contact number also we take. We don't know, that may be getting changed. Then we don't consider email ID, but we go with the address. That may be getting changed. Okay, location may be getting changed. Similarly, the city also may be getting changed, and other one is what here, state may be getting changed, PIN code may be getting changed, but the country will not change. Also we will go with the manager ID here. Manager ID also may be getting changed. Manager ID. Then after that we close here, then we go with the values. From where we get values for this? If it is actually insertion, then we have a column called new in that case. We have a new dot followed by, you have to go with the, again, employee ID. Okay, employee ID. Similarly, next thing is what here, new dot. It is going to be department. New dot department. Also we take new dot contact number. It's going to be new dot contact number. Similarly, it's going to be new dot location. Okay, then next thing is here, new dot, it is city. Then new dot, it is state. And one more thing is here, what? New dot PIN code. Okay, one other thing is here, new dot manager ID. After pin code, we have that only. So we go with the manager ID. Like this, we are going to take it. We put a semicolon here. Then after that, we have to end this particular thing. So we are going to add a trigger like this, delimiter, $, followed by here, create trigger after new employee add. This is the name of the trigger here. After insert on TBL employee. So where exactly the trigger should fire? On the TBL employee, the trigger should fire. Okay, whenever you add a new row, what will happen in such cases? It is automatically going to get a new table that's going to contain only one row. So from that row, I'm inserting data now here. So from that row, I'm going to take data, I'm going to insert here. And for each row, insert into TBL, EMP history, employee ID, department, contact number, address, location, city, state, pin code, manager ID. And these values, from where you are getting values? From the newly created row, and that is called as table there. So it is actually only one row table we have. For that particular row, it is going to be available. So in that case, what happens? For new employee ID is created, that you have in this case. Similarly, whatever department value you entered, that comes in this. Whatever new contact number you added, that comes here. Location, city, state, pin code, and manager ID. So now let us actually, in this case, let us try to execute this here. Okay, we are going to now execute this. So how this works, see here. Okay. There is error for us. Let us copy this and see, copy row, and we try to see in this. Near end at line, it is saying. So we go with end $, and try to execute this again. Still you have error. Put a semicolon here and see. Okay, and $, we kept here. So how we have written this? For each row, we have taken in that case. We've taken this as here for each row. Okay, for each row we have taken. So then it should be working automatically for us. We have taken like this for each row. Then insert into the TBL EMP history. We are adding a semicolon here. Then, so this is correct only. Where could be the problem now? If you go with the end, $, we have taken. So the delimiter is getting ended for us here. So go with the delimiter here in this manner. This is fine here. So when I execute, still it says error only. Trigger already existing, it is saying here. Trigger is added, it's saying in this case. We go with this then, execute. Okay, now let us go into this one and see the triggers. Refresh actually, this one. Okay, so where is the trigger available? Let us see. If you expand trigger, you have here this trigger which is added. Okay, which is already added. Let us try to see this trigger. So the trigger name is what here? After new employee add, this is the name of the trigger for us.
In the line 51, we have added, right?
In the line number 51?
We have created the trigger, right?
Yes. So we have created like, okay. No, but that I haven't executed. From here only I'm trying to execute this. I have selected from here only. Just I've shown you on the top. Okay. So I'm trying to execute that. But why this is, okay. So refresh all. Then in such cases, if I go with this, refresh all, I write here. Probably there is some problem with this. Let me, even I cannot delete this. So I try to drop that particular thing now. Okay, I'll go here and try to drop that. This is what here, drop, trigger, followed by the name of the trigger I give. Try to drop this particular thing here now. Now what happened? The trigger is not available for me. So if I refresh this, you'll not have the trigger in such cases. Right now, you don't have any triggers in this case. So I have a problem with the syntax in this case. Somewhere I have a syntax error. Where is the problem in that case? For each row I have taken, the syntax is what here? After insert on TBL employee, for each row, insert into TBL EMP history. So in this case, this is giving error for me. I've gone with the end $. Okay, so so if I go with the end $, this has to basically work. What could be the reason why it is not adding for us? So delimiter, I set it as $. You can put even something else. Okay. So where I was missing basically is next problem. Where I'm getting this case syntax error. Okay, so for each row I have taken, after that, I need to add this begin. Okay, I need to add this begin. At the end, I put here end $, like this. End $, followed by I remove the semicolon here like this. Now let me execute this particular thing here. Okay, so first up to this, I try to execute it. Trigger already existing, it says. So once again, refresh all. Then go to trigger. We cannot do anything in this case. So let me once again drop this particular thing. I drop this here. Then after that, here everything is getting ended properly for me. I've gone with end $. Then after that, when I say delimiter, some semicolon, this should work now properly. Okay, there was no space. That was giving basically a problem. Now trigger has been created for us. So basically the body is going to be in this manner. First of all, you have a semicolon here. Semicolon, why we use? To execute a command, we use semicolon. Okay, so the trigger may contain multiple statements. So in such cases, if you don't change delimiter to some other thing, semicolon is a default delimiter. With the help of that, you can be executing command. So what you do, using this delimiter $, first of all, you are going to override the semicolon there. That means what? If whenever you try to compile this trigger, if semicolon is encountered, it will not do anything. Automatically, it will not be getting executed. So we go with the delimiter $. First of all, semicolon delimiter we are changing in this case to $. Then after that, what we do? We write the trigger here. At the end, we put semicolon. Then we are going to close this end $. For this begin, we have end $. Once this is completed, again, you are setting the delimiter to semicolon. So now this particular trigger has been added for us. Okay, so trigger now this has been added for us. So now you try to insert some data into the table and see in the other table whether that is getting added or not. Okay, so we try to enter some data in this manner. Now, first of all, let us see what data we have in the TBL employee. So there are two rows actually, 1001 and 1002. Now I want to add here one more data. So in that case, that person is going to be the subordinate to this Suraj. That person is going to be subordinate to Suraj. So therefore, I want to insert some data with manager ID in such cases. So now where is that data? I have, where is the insertion? Somewhere I have insertion here. So the top or somewhere I have here the insertion. So yeah, this is the insertion I have here. So in this case, what I do, I can go with the DOJ and one more thing here. Otherwise, I copy all this to the bottom. In the bottom, I can be adding it. Okay, I can be adding this particular thing here. So I come to this point, then here I'm going to add this. Insert into TBL employee, first name, last name, DOJ, and one more thing is what here? Manager ID. Okay. So under Suraj, I want to create here some employee. I want to add here some employee under Suraj. So what is the employee ID for the Suraj? In that case, 1001. Okay, it is 1001. So here what I do, I can change it to something like here. Okay, so I put some name like Deepti. Then followed by here it is, I put some name B. So this may be probably some 1980 I take here. Followed by this is 125 instead of 125. So this I want to make like 1025. Okay, and this is going to be like 2001 I have taken, but instead of that, I go with some 2002. Then followed by here, it is going to be like again, I want to take like actually 10-1. Like this, I want to enter. Followed by here, I need to enter manager ID. How much I should enter in that case? That should be 1001. So when I insert this data into the table, what will happen? See here. Okay, spelling is wrong in this case. Because of that, it could not insert. It is what here? Manager ID. That column was not existing. So it gave a error for us. Now, once again, select this and execute. Still, it says here, there is some error.
I also kept manager
This
ID.
Manager ID, MANAGER. This is correct only, but how it says? Column count does not match, it says here. We have a first name, we have a last name, we have DOB, we have DOJ and manager ID. And what I'm giving here, first name I give like this, then last name also we are giving in this case, DOB we gave, DOJ we gave, and next thing is what here, manager ID I have given here. So this is correct only, then how it says, it is not matching the column count. Okay, value count is not matching, it is saying, so this should match without any difficulty. Okay, so here, is it not matching? We need to see in the trigger. Anyhow, just we try to see here the data from the employee. So in the employee history, sorry, in the employees, what data we have, let us try to find here. How many rows are added now? In this case, let us see. Only 2 rows are available. There is no problem with that. But whenever you try to add here, number of columns are same. We have taken first name, last name, DOB, DOJ. One more thing, what we added, manager ID we added, and here we are entering accordingly. We are going to enter data accordingly. But in the trigger, do we have any error? Let us see. How many columns we have here? First column, second column, third column, fourth column, fifth column, sixth column, seventh column, eighth column, and ninth column we have. Here also we should be having that many. Column 1, column 2, column 3, column 4, then 5, then 6, 7, and 8. How many on the top we have? 1, 2, then 3, then 4, 5, 6,
Address
7,
is
8, 9. Address is missing, you are saying. You have 9. But in this case, what is happening? This is 1, then 2, then 3, then 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 you have. So address is missing. After contact number, we should have the address. So go with the new dot address. Now, once again, we need to compile this, but already this is available for us. In such case, what we do, we go with the alter trigger. We are going to be altering trigger in such cases. So try to alter this. Before that, we need to go with the delimiter. Then we need to do in that manner. Okay, so it is giving error drop in such cases, the trigger. Then once again, try to create here.
Instead of alter, we need to write create, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
it's not alter, it should be create, correct. Okay, so it's going to be create trigger. Then with that, we try to make it. Now successfully, this has been created for us. Okay, now what I want to do, what is the data available in this? Once again, see here. There are two rows. One of the employee ID is here, 1001 for us. Now try to insert this data into the, which one? Into the table called as TBL employee. What will happen? Let us see now in this case. Data is added now successfully into the given table. So how many rows we have now in this? Let us see. First of all, in the TBL employee, what rows are available? Let us see. Then after that, we try to see in the employee history. There are 3 rows. Okay, there are 3 rows. Now we come to the employee history table. And in this, how many rows we have? Let us check. There is 1 row added automatically into this. Okay, employee ID is how much here? 4. We did not add any department. There is no contact number. There is no address. We haven't entered. Location we have entered. We haven't entered. City we haven't entered. Okay, state also we haven't entered. PIN code, only manager ID we entered in that case. We have entered only manager ID. And other thing is what here? DOE. So that is what exactly date of entry, which is coming automatically for us. So this is basically what? This is basically, I mean, trigger with the help of that, it is adding into the new table. We haven't added anything in this case manually. So whenever you add data into the employee table, it's getting automatically inserted here. So this is getting inserted in this case for us. Now, next thing what we do, we try to write for the update as well. Okay, we go with the update as well. So for update, it works, see here. So we go into this. Once again, we try to write here. In this case, where is the like here we have the, yeah. So create trigger after after employee updated. After employee update, we write like this. This is going to be trigger name. And here, what we write? After update on. For each row we take like this, insert into, this is fine here. Okay, but what we have to do here in this case, same thing is going to be sufficient for us. Whatever new row is getting added automatically, it's going to be coming into this. We don't require any old in this case. Whenever you go with the update, you have an old as well as we have a new table. So always we require new values only. Therefore, you can go with this new only in this case. So once again, execute this here. Once again, execute this. The trigger again has been created for us. Now, if you refresh here, you can find 2 triggers. In this, how many we have? One is what? After new employee add, other one is after employee update. Now, in this case, what I do, I want to update some data. Okay, for whose data I want to update here? This deep list data I want to update in this case. So what things are missing in this case? Some address is missing or contact number is missing. I want to just add a contact number in this case. So how can I do that? Update. Table name we need to put here. Table name is what here? TBL employee. Okay, then right here, set. I want to go with the contact number in this case. Earlier, there was no contact number. Okay, so set contact number equal to number that is we have taken like a varchar. So enter something like this 765324, some value we enter. But how you can update? There are 3 rows. When you go with this update command, automatically all the rows get updated. You require a where clause. Using where clause, you can update only that particular employee details. If you simply write update, what happens? All the rows will be getting affected. So to avoid that one, you need to use a where clause. With the help of that particular employee details only you need to update. So therefore, write here where employee ID equal to what ID you have to put. What is the ID we have? That was, I think, some 1004 we had. So let me put here 1004 and see what will be happening in such cases. Okay, just execute this now. So what will happen? This has been added to the employee ID. So now come to this one here, TBL employee. What data is available in this? Just check it. Now, if you go with the 1004, contact number is available now in this case because this has been updated. Rest of things are not updated, but if you go to history table, there should be one more row this time. You have one more row in this case. For 1004, what is happening here? You have a contact number. At what time this is added actually? This is 8/12/22. That is 20 hours, 12 minutes, 22 seconds. At that time, we added the row. But this is what here, a new row is also getting added at this time. So like this, what is happening here? We have updated this particular thing here. Contact number we have updated. Rest of things we are not updated. But whenever you have any updation, automatically this is going to be logged into this particular thing. So this you can think even it as a audit table. You can think it as a audit table. So whenever you modify anything here in this table, it's going to capture. This you can do with the help of the triggers. So this we could make possible with the help of the triggers in this case. So using triggers, whenever you change any data in the main table, automatically you are going to enter into audit table. So in this case, I call it as employee history, TBL, EMP history. So into the table that's getting added automatically. And apart from this, we have seen few other things like deleting, updating, okay, deleting trigger, creating trigger. So we have added two triggers in this case. One is what? After employee update. Other one is what? After a new employee add. So this way you have written two triggers. They are available under triggers. But on what table you have written triggers? We have written this on the TBL employee. If you see here syntax, create trigger after employee update. Okay, after employee update, that is basically this is the name of the trigger. Name of the trigger. This you can put whatever you want to put. You can put TRG initially. You can put that way also. You can write. But this is going to be important after update on TBL employee. Okay, so when you update the TB employee table, for every row, what is happening in this case? It's going to insert data into the new, the TBL EMP history. So it is going to add all these things in that case. Whatever modified, they are going to come. Otherwise, earlier, whatever values you have, you are going to have in that. So in this way, the triggers are going to be working for us. Triggers are going to be really very, very useful stuff for us. It's going to be really useful stuff. But what happens with the triggers? Database may run sometimes very slow. Okay, very, very slow it may become. So that's why in a judicious manner, you have to use the triggers. You need to design database. Suppose somebody is asking you to design database, immediately you should not create table. First of all, you need to do a lot of paperwork. How you are designing data. Your application success depends on the data design. Ultimately, whatever code you may use, whether it is C# or Java or .NET or Python, whatever it is, it does not make really any impact unless your data is structured in a better way. Okay, so structuring data is always going to be important. What exactly you are doing, you have to know. Ultimately, everything is data only. Whatever application you may do, you may write, you are going to write that for manipulating data always. If there is no data, no meaning for any kind of application. So you need to structure data in such a way it is going to be efficient in usage. In the future, if you want to add extra features to that, you should be in a position to add. Okay, so that way you must be always making it. So before you design any table, think many times before you start actually doing it. Knowing command is not enough. Always remember, knowing about technology is not enough. How to use it efficiently, you have to know. And one advantage with the software engineering is, or particularly with the programming is, along with this writing of code, your logic is going to improve, your debugging skills improve, your error finding techniques also improve. Not only with this, you even learn some other domains easily, like insurance industry, banking industry, or some engineering kind of thing. So easily you can learn those things, because when you code, your logic is going to be improving like anything. Okay, your logic actually improves. So Bhargavi was finding easily where I was doing some mistakes. Okay, that kind of skills are required, and your mind should be present always there. When you become software engineer, actually, your mind should be present in that case. So you need to focus on that. So when you focus, then only you can give better results. Otherwise, I mean, you may write code repeatedly, you may do mistakes, and what mistakes you are doing, if you can't find, then that's going to be really very bad. Okay, that's why we need to write very carefully the code. So while I was writing, I committed few mistakes. Okay, I committed few mistakes. So normally you should not commit mistakes like that. Okay, I mean, before you code, before you execute any piece of code, you need to verify that whether that is correct or not. So if it's correct, if you feel that it's correct, in that case, you can go with that. Still, you may have problems. So in such case, quickly you should debug and you should solve the problems. So that is going to be very, very important. How much you write is irrelevant. Okay, how much worthy code you are writing, how efficient the code is, that is going to be mattering a lot. Okay, so this is what basically writing a trigger and updation of few things we have seen. So in the next session, we are going to discuss about creating procedures. Okay, then after that, I'll show you that there are going to be so many things actually, like where clause. Similarly, one more thing is like having clause, group by, those things also I'm going to say. Okay, then after that, we are going to code with the Python. So these basics I'm trying to give you so that it's going to be useful to you to become a full stack developer. Okay, then after that, we can continue. If you are interested, you can continue with the MySQL also. But the basics I'm trying to cover. Okay, I mean, without going much into detail, I'm trying to cover basics. After this, you can be starting writing some code with the Python or with the Node.js to get connected to database, to retrieve data from the database. And you can show that on the form or in the user interface. You can modify, you can edit. So that way you can use. That's the reason I'm requesting you to join with the MySQL sessions. Okay, anyone has any questions?
Do we have class tomorrow?
Tomorrow will not have. Again, it's going to be on Monday.
I do have a doubt, like we have used the auto increment in the first table, like employee.
Yes.
And if we delete one of the row,
Yes.
like example, if we have deleted the third row,
Yes.
the auto increment is working like 1, 2, and it is not showing any date, any of 3, and it is showing of 4.
Yes.
Did you get what I'm saying?
Because
Like
see,
1, 4.
auto increment works like this. Auto increment, there is one field actually for every table in the database that is maintained. Okay. So initially, whatever value you have, with that it starts. When you insert a row, automatically that gets incremented. Okay. So you are trying to insert next row. Due to some reason, it is not actually inserted. Okay, but before you insert, what happens? First of all, the auto increment key, auto increment value gets incremented. Then that's going to be inserted. For example, you see, first you had 1000, 1000 is getting inserted. So next time when you try to insert another row, what happens? First it becomes 1001, then you try to insert that. So if the row is not getting inserted, what will happen? It is going to be 1001 on the auto incremented one. After that, you are trying to insert one more row. In such case, what it becomes? It becomes 1002. That value is trying to enter. Okay, if that is also fail, I mean, next time if you try to insert one more row, what will happen? It's going to be 1003. So in that way, it's going to work basically, auto increment feature. Okay, even if you delete something, automatically, it is not going to be adjusting numbers. It's not going to put in the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 fashion, not like that, that is. This way, basically, auto increment is going to be working. So initially, you have a value, that value you are inserting. Okay. Next time, what happens if you try to insert one more row? First of all, auto increment value gets incremented by 1. Okay. First it increments, then it tries to insert the data into the table, but due to some other columns problem, you may not insert. that is actually the command failed. Okay, when command is failing, auto increment will not actually revert back to original one. It is incremented 2. Next time you try to insert one more row. In such case, what happens? Auto increment first it becomes 3, then it tries to insert. So that's why when commands are failing, in such case, what happens? You have a gap between the numbers. You may have 1001, then without having 1002, 1003, sometimes you go to 1004. Reason what? 2 records could not be inserted successfully, but auto increment automatically got incremented. So that way it is going to work.
What if we want to have like in a manner like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5?
In that case, you need to maintain other column. With auto increment, you cannot do it.
Okay.
You need to maintain one more column. When it is inserted, you need to do some logic. With the help of that, you can do that. You have to have some logic. That means from the earlier table, you need to take that value to that. You need to add one, +1, something like that. But if you delete a row, suppose in the middle, if you delete a row, what happens there? You have 1, 2, 3. 4, 5, 6. Suppose you delete 4, again still you have 1, 2, 3, then 5 only. The row is deleted. Automatically 5 will not become 4 in that case.
Yeah.
So why we use this? This is basically primary key. Okay, that numbering does not make any difference basically. Okay, that is only for, having a unique value for the column we are using auto increment. That we cannot use something like application number. If you try to use for application number or something, it's really meaningless. Okay, so to just, identify a row in the given table, we can use it in a unique way. So for that purpose, normally we use the identity element or auto increment. In the SQL Server, we call it as identity element, but in the MySQL, we call it as auto increment. When you work with the PostgreSQL or when you work with the Oracle, we call it as actually sequence. Sequence of values they get entered. First, what happens? The sequence actually starts with something. You insert some data, so sequence value is going to be updated there. Suppose initially if it's 1, subsequently it becomes 2, then 3, then 4. Before you insert data, first of all, what is happening? The sequences they get incremented. That's the reason, as I told you, you have gaps. You cannot maintain that sequentially. Due to some reason, what happens? The row may not be inserted. When you have some invalid data, some kind of violation you have. Similarly, when you delete some row in between, then in that case again, automatically it cannot rearrange the, auto increment IDs. It's not possible like that. Okay, so auto increment just to identify a row a unique way instead of we enter, we are going to use that feature. So you cannot be using for some application number or student ID. For that, if you use that may be wrong.
Okay, got it. Thank you.
Yeah. Anybody else has any other questions?
Yeah, for primary key.
Hello, Shravani. Hello.
For primary key, it's showing as PRI, but for foreign key, it's showing as
multiple values. Mul meaning is what? It can take multiple values. Under that particular, for example, you have employee ID, then you have manager ID. Okay. So an employee is having a manager. For example, employee ID 1002, but manager ID 1001. Similarly, employee ID may be some 1003, manager ID may be 1001. Like that, what is happening? Under one manager, we can have multiple employees.
Okay,
so MUL meaning is what? It can have multiple values. In multiple places, it can occur.
Okay.
So meaning is something like that it is.
Okay. So primary key should always have auto increment?
Need not be. Need not be. Suppose you take email ID can be primary key. Because no two persons' email ID can be same. Or even if you can take contact number. No two persons' contact number can be same. But if you use email ID or contact number as primary keys, there can be problem. Contact number cannot be same always. After some time, you may change your contact number. In such case, you cannot update.
Okay.
Primary key cannot be updated. Similarly, email ID also, you may change email IDs. So in such case also what happens? You cannot update. So therefore, choosing them can be wrong thing.
Oh.
Correct? Understood my point here?
Yeah.
So before you define anything, you have to think about all those scenarios. Then you have to go with that.
Okay.
When you start doing application in a hurry, normally what you do, you may define these things without thinking much. But before you design any database table or data in general, you have to think so many times, then you need to go with that. Otherwise, in the future, if you have to modify something, it becomes a daunting task. Suppose you have 1 lakh records. Okay, some 1,000 employees, their contact number is changed. You have taken contact number as a primary key. Now, how can you change that? It's not possible to change. Then how you do in that case? You have to delete existing ones and you need to add again like new. Okay, but related to that employee, you may be having so much other data in the history table. The employee might have been changed so many times into different departments. All the data, where do you have in that case? You are going to lose it, correct?
Yeah.
So that's the reason, before you declare anything as primary key, you have to think much about it.
Okay.
There is one more feature called GUID, globally unique identifiers. Okay, so that is going to be some 16-byte string which gets created through your code. You can generate and you can insert into like a varchar in the table. So that is going to be a good option in my opinion. GUID, globally unique identifier. If you take numbers, suppose you have a gap 1, 2, 3, then after that up to 6 you may not have numbers. So it is going to be a little bit confusing, or it is going to be some irritation for us. If you have sequential, you like it. Otherwise, you don't like it. Okay, recently in one of the applications, I faced the same kind of thing. Okay, so in such case, what you can do, you can create some GUID. When you insert GUID, then in that case, you will not have any gap. Okay, because there is a GUID, there is a string. When you have a string, something like that, you can't identify whether it's sequence or not. So you use in such case, in that cases, that kind of thing, but it can't be auto increment. Remember, it can't be auto increment in such cases.
Okay.
Fine. Then, Pratyusha, you have any questions?
No, sir. Clear.
Rahul, you have any questions? I think Rahul left. Okay. So, I mean, I'm planning about some project. You need to do that project using MySQL, and other thing is Python Flask. Okay, if you have time, when you find time, just go through the basics of Python in the given this one channel. You have some basics of Python language. So just go through them, try to understand something about Python. Okay, Python language, what it is exactly, what are the data types available in the Python, what are the condition statements you have in the Python, what are the data structures in the Python, like list, tuple. Okay, you have some things. List, tuple, dictionary, set, how to use them. You can find in that, how you can maintain the loops, that you can find what is indentation, you can find how to create a function, that information you have. Okay, so how to create your own module or library, that you can find, how to import packages, that also you can find. About the case sensitivity, you can find how to use Python ternary operator, you can find in that. Okay, so similarly, how to use type function, how to use print function, you can understand with that. How to create files, you can understand. How to create Excel file, you can understand. How to create CSV file, you can understand. Similarly, how to get connected to MySQL also, you have in that. So just go through that, get ready. I mean, again, I'm going to explain those things, but when you have time, just go through that. Then you can be ready for doing some project. When you do some project, really you can feel yourself confident. Otherwise, it's just like learning only. I mean, like bits and pieces. When you put them together, when you make an application, you feel yourself confident that you can take project and you can do that. Okay, so get ready for that. Probably in the middle of the next week, I announce the project, what you are going to do. Okay.
Okay.
Okay, sir.
Thank you.